Hi everyone. So today is all about relationship, and it's about why I can't stand my my colleague, my spouse, my in-law, my boss. You know, people can trigger us, and I'd like to talk a little bit more about these triggers and how we can resolve them, because we can absolutely resolve them and we can learn something from these situations. So for many years I was invited to do team buildings, and usually the work would be about conflict resolution, and then later on as I got into coaching it would be resolution of for women who just felt unhappy in their relationship, who couldn't communicate their truth to their spouse, or who were single and would be asking, why can't I find someone who is blah blah blah, and they would end up in relationships that would trigger their emotions, their negative emotions, and it would be too unbearable sometimes for them. Some of the women I've worked with have just been disappointed, heartbroken, betrayed. So there's often that feeling that they wasted their time or they can't find someone. And, it took me many years, of course, to resolve and even be able to speak about relationship, because I was still understanding them. I'm still understanding them, learning about them. But I learned some wonderful tools along the way, and I'd like to share a couple of them with you today in the simplest format. Of course, when I coach a woman, usually we look at her values in relationship, and the values in relationship are what will attract the other person, whether it is your soulmate or whether it is your annoying, bullying boss or whoever it is. These values will design the way you actually attract, because you have to look at the relationship via certain filters. So someone who's walking along the street will never trigger you the same way as someone you have to share a roof with, for example. Or someone who, you met once 20 years ago. They would never trigger you the way someone who, is in your face or you see regularly or you have to work with. So this is about all types of relationship, and you can apply the tools to any relationship that triggers you, and this will allow you to take back your power and manage your emotions. So I'm just going to start with a really quick story. Now, there was this woman, and she was waiting at the airport, and she'd bought herself a book and a bag of cookies. And she sat down and placed her bags beside her. And as she read her book, she noticed the gentleman next to her starting to eat the cookies from the bag between them. She tried to ignore this. Now, obviously, this is a trigger, right? Can you imagine what negative emotions she must be feeling? And she wanted to ignore it, and she didn't want to make a scene. But she couldn't believe he could so blatantly steal her cookies. And she became increasingly irritated, as every time she took a cookie, he took one too. Finally, there was only one cookie left in the bag. She wondered, what would he do? He smiled, and laughing, he took the last one and he broke it in half. And then he offered her half while he ate the other cheek. She snatched her half from him, astonished by his rudeness and lack of gratitude. The woman sighed with relief when her flight was called and she headed to the gate. Sinking in her seat, she reached into her bag for her book, and then, gasping with surprise, she saw her bag of cookies right in front of her eyes. And she realized that if her cookies were in her bag, then the others were his. And he had been trying to share. It was now too late to apologize, and she realized with horror that in fact she was the rude one, the true cookie thief. So we can look, it's about our response, yeah? Our response and our filters to relationship. This is what causes the trigger. And what you will notice is there's some people who can stay really calm despite crazy behavior, rude behavior, whatever, whereas others get really triggered. And this trigger is actually a sign for you to look within yourself and say, what's going on? Now, one of the exercises which I'd like to go through with you quickly, and by the way, most of my videos have got a PDF, so I will, if you email me, I will send you a PDF of the exercises. But let's do this one now. So, this is the dragon dancing. I don't know if you can see that, it might be flipped, but anyway, I'll send you the PDF. So, dragon dancing. The dragon state, yeah, it's a metaphor for just what happens to you when someone triggers you. So I want you to go ahead, grab your paper and pen and your cup of tea. You can pause this video for after each question that I ask you, and you can reflect and journal through this process with me now. So, step 1 is to name the dragon. Just to identify who triggers you, who upsets you. You don't have to mention their name, you can just call them X. I want you to go ahead and just identify the person that's triggering you. Number 2, I want you to go ahead and write down, what is it about them that triggers you? What is it that you perceive they are doing to you? And go ahead and write that down. Good. You can always pause between all my questions. Step 3, how did it make you feel? I want you to write down the negative emotions. Just make a list of everything you feel in that moment. And step 4, what expectations did you have for yourself that probably didn't really happen? Like, I was supposed to be really calm, but I really freaked out, or whatever it was. What were your expectations of yourself in that moment? And 5, what is it that you never want to experience again? Wonderful. Now, step 6. I want you to give this dragon state. Really feel in your body where it is, and I want you to imagine it as a comical or a funny or even a cute kind of character. It may come in the form of a dragon, it may look like some other character that you know. Just go ahead and be playful with it. And if this was like a pet of yours that just was a bit aggressive or super, highly sensitive, or well, then what would you name it? Give it a nickname. And step 7, imagine you could go a bit closer, not to the person, but to the part of you that has experienced all of this. Because likely it's a younger version of you that's getting triggered. It's a memory. It's something that you felt, a part of you within that's getting triggered and needs attention. Remember, I told you, it's just negative emotions are parts of you saying, hello, I'm here, please pay attention. So let's give it some love and attention. Be that compassionate witness and notice what you notice. You could even draw it on your paper. And imagine now that this version of you, or this version of the dragon that's been given a cute name, imagine you could just go up to it and maybe hold its hand could even dance with it. Give it a kiss. And just see what you see and hear what you hear, and go ahead and just play, in your imagination with this feeling. What is it really needs? That if you gave it, that part would just relax. What is its real intention for you? Again, you can just go ahead and see that part from far away, high up, looking down at it, and pick up any learnings from there. Remember, learnings are always positive and for you and about you. So I want you to go ahead and pick up all the learnings and write them down, and give that part lots of love regularly, and see what happens to it. And then the final step is, well, how could I starve the dragon? How could I stop this from happening again? Are there some steps or actions that I need to take? Is there some sort of decision that I need to make? And go ahead and choose that decision and take the step. You can do it. And as you know, I'm Shilpa Shah. I'm a life coach for women who lead, and I love to teach women how to lead and love themselves. Thank you so much for listening. Bye for now.